Welcome to More Than a Type, the podcast for emotionally aware women who are ready to stop overthinking and start taking action. Hi, everyone. I'm Amira.
Hi, I'm Carol. We are disc practitioners and mindset coaches.
Understanding yourself is powerful, but what you do with that insight is where real change happens.
Let's unpack the patterns, behaviors, and pressures that keep you stuck and give you tools to move forward with clarity, confidence, and purpose. You're more than a type,
Let's turn clarity into confidence.
and confidence into action.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. Today, we're exploring emotional expression for logical minds.
Mhm.
People with a conscientious style personality often thrive in logic, structure, and analysis. Just think of Spock from Star Trek. They notice patterns, they think deeply, and they hold everything to very high standards.
But here's the tension. When it comes to feelings, they can feel out of their depth. They're aware that emotions are present, but they don't always know what to do with them. Instead of feeling in their bodies, intellectualize, analyzing why they feel anxious rather than actually noticing the tightness in their chest.
In the DISC model, some people with a conscientious style carry a long streak of sensitivity. They're the ones who notice the little things that others miss: a changed tone, a look on someone's face, even a shift in the atmosphere of the room. That awareness is a real strength. But when it feels overwhelming, instead of letting themselves process those feelings, they often retreat into logic. It's safer to analyze than to feel.
I like that you said that, Amira, because yes, there are some who have a strong streak of sensitivity, and there's some who are totally oblivious of feelings.
Mm.
So I'm thinking about Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. He's a typical C style, though he doesn't pick up on social cues. He's meticulous and analytical. He requires structure and rules. I remember he even has a schedule for bathroom use. He's logical in decision making, and his behavior is reserved. He's less interested in socializing and more focused in his intellectual pursuits and environment. And as a C star, he's also got fear of criticism.
Mm.
Like, I remember an episode where his nemesis, Barry Kripke, found an error in Sheldon's paper, and oh my gosh, it just shattered his world.
Wow. Yeah. And that's what we mean when we say there's a streak of sensitivity. They take things personally.
That's
And it,
true.
yeah, they take it as an attack on them rather than like a mistake in the work. And because we're all human, we all make mistakes.
So, conscientious personalities are known for their measured and controlled demeanor. We spoke about David Beckham in the last episode. Unlike some of his contemporaries in the sporting world, Beckham wasn't known for outbursts or chaos.
Mm. We watch a lot of basketball in our family. So we do like Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, you know what I mean? Outburst and chaos. That's what that
Mm.
looks like. But David Beckham is not like that at all. If you've seen the Beckham documentary on Netflix, I brought it up in the last episode. It showed how David Beckham projected a polished and meticulous image, from grooming to fashion to creating his own brand. So on the pitch, even under pressure, he rarely let emotions override his sense of control. That ability to stay steady shows that blend of sensitivity as well as the compliance. He was really aware of others' opinions, yet keen to maintain a respectful and composed presence. If you've seen the Beckham documentary, or if you know of David Beckham in the celebrity world, there's a powerful moment where he reflects on the emotional cost of his public life. He shares how he had to learn to hold himself steady even when inside everything was a storm. He called the process of making the documentary mentally and emotionally draining. Obviously, they had to ask him everything that happened, and he had to explain from his point of view how he felt and how he dealt with things at the time. Yeah, Carol, I just remember that there was this moment. I mean, in 1998, I was at university and I was not aware of David Beckham or soccer. I was in my own world. But in 1998, at the World Cup, apparently he got a red card.
Mm.
And from watching the documentary last year, I didn't realize how much intense hatred he received from his fans, and it stayed with him for years. Like, they were booing him from the stands, they were calling him vile names, they were calling his wife vile names, and his wife was in the stands with their baby, and they used awful words about her, booing him. And here's this man standing on the pitch. He's working, really, he's working, he's doing his job, and that intense hatred coming down on him. And even like a few pubs around England would put up like a dummy and did like a hangman and said, "This is David Beckham, he's done now." And the newspapers as well just said such derogatory things about him. But what I'm trying to say here is, instead of lashing out in shame or anger, he kept his composure. And that's the power of conscientious steadiness, not the absence of feelings, but the choice to process and carry yourself with dignity.
Hmm. That's really interesting because you got me thinking about other athletes. I'm a F1 fan.
Mm,
And you know, the calm that they have to feel in their heads before they start driving
mm,
with everything that's going on. They've all got their own rituals as to, you know, how to get to that place, because even while they're driving, they need to remain calm,
mm,
going at incredible speeds of 300 kilometers an hour,
mm.
and with other drivers on the road and with obstacles coming in between. They have to compartmentalize
Yeah,
in order to perform.
exactly right. Exactly right.
So here's a personal story, my own challenge with feelings. I was having a really rough time in one of my jobs, and I felt like a failure. But instead of allowing myself to process that feeling properly, I created a pros and cons list, whether I should stay in that job or leave. And my brain came to the conclusion that I had to leave based on the data. But my body hadn't caught up. And what happened is I continued to have sleepless nights. I had tension headaches. I was getting body aches, unusual aches and pains in my body. That's the cost of avoiding that felt experience of feelings.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. And I know exactly what you mean. I've experienced that myself. So I'm an high I style personality, with a 5% C. And usually I'm pretty happy with feelings. I can cry like a good actress can, on demand, because I can just get in touch with it, feel it, bring it out. But there's this one time for me that this exactly what you're talking about, avoiding feeling it and going straight to logic, came up for me. And it was a time when my grandmother passed away. I love and adored my grandma. May she be blessed and rest in peace. Um, she lived with us and she was kind of like my second mom. So when she passed away, I didn't let myself cry. And instead, I rationalized it. I kept telling myself like she'd had a full life, that death is a part of life, that I need to be strong for everyone else. And so on the outside, I looked like really composed and okay. But on the inside, I would say that I was pretty numb. And it wasn't
Mm.
until later that I finally let my body catch up with my mind and I allowed myself to cry, to feel that sense of loss and the grief. And you know what? In that moment, that's when things started to shift. So slowly, I started to reach a place where I could talk about her without breaking down. And I could even smile and refer to her like she loved every time we asked what she wanted to eat. She said, "Let's order pizza." So that's a beautiful memory I have. Whenever we have pizza now, I go, my grandma used to love pizza. And
Mm.
so that experience taught me something really important. And when you can't talk about something without choking up about it, like without crying or without feeling that lump in your throat, it usually means you're still carrying it in your body. You haven't fully processed it yet. So logic can explain grief, but only allowing yourself fully to feel it allows you to release that grief.
Mm. That's so true. You reminded me of how I coped with when my grandma passed away as well. I went straight into doing, not feeling. Yeah. It took a long time. I was in doing mode for a long time, seeing to everybody, seeing to everything. And uh, eventually, when it hit me, Amira, the world was dull. I don't know how else to explain it, but it wasn't vibrant anymore. It was just dull.
Yeah. You kind of feel like, how am I going to live in the world without my loved one?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But that's the trap of the logical mind, isn't it? Emotions are felt, but when you don't process them, they build up as stress, tension, self criticism.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, logical minds don't ignore emotions, they just try to keep them tidy, boxed up, and under control. But unprocessed feelings don't disappear. They show up in the body as stress, they show up in relationships as distance, or in your own head as self criticism.
Mm.
So the question is, how does that careful, conscientious way of being land with the people around you?
The C style personality might see themselves as careful, precise, rational, but others might interpret them differently. D styles may think of them as cold or unfeeling. I styles may find them overly serious or detached from emotions. S styles may appreciate their thoughtfulness, but long for more warmth from them. And other C styles may respect their logic, but also struggle to connect emotionally.
This is true. So while logical minds think they're being professional and composed, others may feel distance or even rejection when emotions aren't expressed. So let's look at this contrast more clearly. What happens when emotions stay bottled up versus when they're expressed with balance and presence?
So imagine a conscientious manager hearing that her team is upset with workload. Inside, she feels guilt and concern, but then she goes straight to her head. She intellectualizes. Let's make a new workflow chart. So she puts everything up in logical order. You got to do this, you've got to do this, and then this will happen, and then we'll be done. The team sees a rational plan, but not the empathy that they needed. Her feelings remain bottled up. She doesn't acknowledge the other feelings in the room, and the disconnection in the team grows.
Mm. Now, picture her pausing. She says, I can see this is hard on you, and I feel it too. Then she offers the workflow situation. Same logic, but now her sensitivity connects first. Her emotions don't weaken her professionalism, they strengthen the trust.
Yeah, that's really the key. When we slip into unresourceful behavior, we end up hiding behind our logic. We overthink, we analyze, we rationalize instead of letting ourselves actually feel. And in that space, we can look calm, but inside, we're carrying a storm.
Yeah. Resourceful behavior, though, is different. It's when you still use your gift of logic, but you blend it with empathy and presence. You blend it with the ability to connect to your own heart and body. It's saying, yes, the facts matter, but so do my feelings and the feelings of the people around me.
Mhm.
And when you do that, something shifts. You're not just a logical mind in the room, you're the steady, trustworthy presence that others can lean on. That's the real strength.
So let's get practical. Here are 5 tips to help logical minds express emotion without losing logic and clarity. And we'll share some real life stories to show how these shifts can make a difference.
Tip number 1, tune in to your body. Feelings live in the body, not just the mind. Ask, is it tightness in your chest? Is it a knot in your stomach? Or tension in your jaw? The logical mind often translates feelings into thoughts. That was unfair. That was wrong. But this bypasses the body where the emotions first show up. One of my clients, an auditor, always said, I don't do feelings, I just think. But she suffered from migraines and clenched teeth. Once she started journaling her body sensations, she realized her headaches were tied to stress. That gave her a new language for her emotions. Imagine recognizing stress the moment your jaw tightens and responding with a break or breath or support instead of pushing until burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really powerful story. If I can share, my
Yeah.
husband grinds his teeth at night.
Mm.
True to conscientious style personality, what does he do? He goes and gets a plate that he wears at night. But I,
Fix
I
the
often
problem.
ask him, what are you worried about? What are you worried about? And he just says things, life, work, is very, very a big, big, big picture,
Mm.
not breaking it down into little things. So
Mm.
yeah, he's a work in progress, my darling husband. So tip number 2, assume noble intent. So in life, we need feedback to let us know how we're doing. And when feedback stings, don't retreat into analysis. C style personalities take feedback as criticism, and they assume that the feedback is there to harm them. So, what we're saying here is assume that the other person's intent is to help you, not harm you. And this small shift lowers your defensiveness and it actually allows you to stay present instead of spiraling and allowing that self critic to come up, to rear its head and attack you. So I'm thinking of my own son, just as this is coming up. When he first started playing basketball, every time his coach gave him feedback, he took it so personally and he took it as a personal attack. So if the coach said, you need to move faster on defense, my son would somehow hear it. He hates the way I play.
Mm.
To him, every word felt like an insult. So over time, we started working on shifting the lens. So instead of hearing criticism, he practiced hearing guidance. He's not there to tear you down. He's there to make you better. What if we tried this one thing that he did? So once he assumed that the intent was noble, his whole attitude changed. Practices felt lighter, his confidence grew, and of course, his game improved. And this also reminds me of like an acronym that I used a lot when my kids were growing up. It's the think acronym. So before you respond, think of the word think. Helpful, isn't it? So T, is it true? Is what you heard true or is what you're about to say true? And we had to use this a lot because my son would come home talking about playground bullying So people would say things to him like, oh, you're a loser. Oh, you're this. Or, I'm not going to repeat some of that because that's all in the past now. So I'd say, is it true? Are you a loser? Is it true? No. And similarly, when teenage boys, I'll be very specific in this situation, when teenage boys hear something, straight away they arc up and repeat the same, if not even more vile remarks back. So I would say, before you open your mouth, is what you're about to say true? The second one in think is H. Is it helpful? Is what you're about to say helpful? Is what you're hearing helpful? I stands for is what you've heard inspiring, or some people use important as well. Is what you're about to say inspiring or important for someone else to hear? The N stands for is it necessary? Did what the person just say to you, was that really necessary? Is what you're about to say, is that necessary? Do you have to say that? Can you not just be quiet? And then lastly, in the acronym K, is what you heard kind? In which case, if it's not kind, you don't need to believe it. And is what you're about to say kind? Because we are kind people. So when you run feedback through that think acronym, it stops feeling like an attack and starts sounding like guidance. So ask yourself, what if feedback became less about criticism and more about growth? How many relationships at work and at home would feel safer?
That was so good, Amira. And I must say that this is something that I still struggle with sometimes. The third tip: don't spend $100 of energy on a 10-cent problem.
I love this.
Ask, where does my sensitivity matter most? Not every raised eyebrow deserves your emotional energy.
Mm-hmm.
The logical mind can waste hours analyzing minor cues.
Mm-hmm.
The return on investment helps you prioritize where to care deeply. One of my clients would obsess for days if a colleague didn't speak to her at work.
Mm.
So we talked through this and reframed it. Does this add value? She realized eventually that the colleague was just busy. She stopped overthinking minor cues and poured her sensitivity into the team check-ins when it truly strengthened connections. What if you saved your energy for the moments that matter most? Instead of exhaustion, you'd feel focused and connected.
Yeah, I love that, Carol. And it reminds me of that quote, pick your battles.
Mm,
If you went to war for everything, you'd be so tired. And
yeah.
I used to tell myself this over, dirty bedroom floors, unmade beds, laundry, all the mess here, all the mess there. I was constantly on top of my kids for the cleanliness of the house. And at the end, I was like,
Mm,
oh my gosh, I'm putting so much energy on clean and we're not having fun. So you're
mm,
completely right. Save your energy for the things that matter most.
yeah.
The next tip is pause before you explain. Logical minds rush to explain or justify.
Mhm.
So when someone says something, oh, I've got to tell you why I'm doing this. What we're saying here is practice pausing and naming the feeling that comes up for you. So what we're doing here is you're becoming aware of what's happening inside you due to what's happening outside of you,
Mm,
if you get what I mean. By naming the feeling, you're inviting connection to yourself. When you allow outside matters to go to your head and you go into analysis, this actually creates distance from your own emotions. So I can remember a time where this happened to me at work. I remember like this was what I called a bad day at work. There were so many duties, so many tasks, and I noticed on that specific day that people were not doing their duties and not doing their tasks. So I was walking along doing my job, but then picking up that person's job and picking up that person's task and picking up here and I remember just feeling like really resentful, number one, and feeling like I can't handle this. I can't do my work and everybody else's work. So instead of continuing to work myself into the ground, I remember I walked into the nurse's office, looked at the registered nurse on duty that day, and I said to her, I'm so overwhelmed. And I just said that. I just expressed how I was feeling. I didn't go, she did that and he did that. And I didn't say any of that. I just said, I feel so overwhelmed. And then it was just silence. Like I was just trying to process the feeling.
Mm,
And she looked at me. I think she was shocked because I never complain. I just do stuff. And she looked at me and she stood up and she said, let's fix this. And she called a meeting. She called everyone on the team. And together we redistributed the workload. And I'm really grateful to her. Like she could have said, Mira's doing the load and then you guys are all slacking. And then I would have copped looks from everyone and called
mm,
a tattletale or, whatever playground happens at work. But she didn't. She just said, let's reorganize the tasks and fairly redistributed the workload. And I just felt like, wow, in that one sentence, those 3 words, they did more for me than I could have done by explaining all that. And it
mm,
saved me from burnout and it saved me from collapsing.
mm. What a wonderful example of naming the feeling and taking action.
Mm, yeah.
Brilliant. So the fifth tip is balance empathy with boundaries. Emotional expression doesn't mean oversharing. It's about pairing compassion with clarity. Without boundaries, empathy can overwhelm you. But with boundaries, it becomes powerful leadership.
Mm,
I remember when I started coaching, I struggled with expressing empathy. I felt it, yes, I felt it in my body, but I couldn't language it. And this is something that I had to learn. Simple phrases like, that sounds painful, or you've been through so much. Foreign as it was to me at the start, they helped my clients feel seen and heard.
they really create trust between the coach and the client.
Yeah. And the reason it felt so foreign to me is because I'm SC, I should be in touch with my emotions, but my cultural upbringing was not about talking about emotions. That's why I
Mm,
had to learn to language it.
mm, yeah.
So, what if your empathy actually increased your influence? Because people now can trust your competence and your care.
Yeah. That's so interesting that you bring that up, Carol, because I have always been able to communicate, fun and jokes and all that stuff. But communicating the hard stuff, that's what
Mm,
I have really had to work on the last couple of years because, as you mentioned, growing up, we were used to something different. Like in my household, we never talked about bad stuff. We never talked about being recognized as angry. Like I don't remember ever going to my mom and saying I'm sad or I'm mad. I just don't remember having the courage or like that was even allowed. Like sure you'd go to your friends and ask your friends for help or tell them how you're feeling. I'm sure I did a lot of that, but to actually voice it in a way where it's required in a intimate like a relationship in a relationship with someone that you're having, whether it's your parents, whether it's a spouse or a partner. And I remember wanting to be really good at this because it's something that I wanted to have a good communication and a good relationship with my children, and I wanted to teach my children how to come to me whether they were happy or sad. And so I had to start modeling that behavior first so that they could
mm,
see what it looked like for them.
same.
Mm,
I had to learn for the sake of my children because I wanted them to be able to have that language. and to be able to come to me no matter what.
And then my higher levels of thought, why couldn't I do this for me? Why did I have to do it for my kids first? To realize that I'm just as worthy of being able to express my own opinions or emotions to anyone. But that's for another episode.
Yes.
So here's your challenge for this week. Notice one moment where you normally explain, analyze, or shut down your emotions. Instead, pause. Name one feeling in your body right now. I feel tense. I feel disappointed. I feel hopeless. Just one sentence, and make it about your feelings, not what you think. I think I'm disappointed. I think I'm stressed. Truly feel that in your body, and then language the sensation in your body and marry it to the name of an emotion. It's a good skill.
One of the things that I help my clients with is connecting with your body. So take the hand and put it to the body, put it to the chest, and close our eyes and feel. What do you feel? That helps sometimes.
It requires some trusting, because sometimes people are so agitated in their bodies, they don't want to sit down and feel. In that case, when you have teenagers that do that, we go for a run around the block. So we run and we talk at the same time. Gets that excess energy out of the body. And that's okay. And that's what you really want. And then when that excess energy is gone and you say exactly what you said now, how do you feel? They're able to connect with their body much more.
So once you've identified the feeling, notice the ripple effect. What changes in your body? Do people lean in differently? Do you feel lighter? Do you feel more connected?
Yeah, because confidence in emotions is like anything else we do in life. It's a muscle that we have to learn to develop. Every small repetition you make makes it stronger.
What if instead of being the one who hides behind logic, you become the one who brings calm, clarity, and real connection? And you might be surprised. Sometimes the quietest I feel moment carries more power than the longest explanation.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, let's quickly recap today's insights. Logical minds often struggle to process feelings in the body. They default to logic, analysis, or withdraw completely. High conscientiousness values accuracy and structure, but without emotional expression, it can feel cold or disconnected. It's just words on a piece of paper called policies and procedures.
Emotions live in the body. Tuning into sensations is the first step to expression. Expressing emotion with clarity builds deeper trust, connection, and influence. Your logic is a strength, but it becomes even more powerful when you let it walk hand in hand with your heart.
Thanks for joining us for More Than a Type.
If today's episode resonated, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more women discover the show.
And don't forget, we'd love to hear your story. Reach out and share your experiences with us.
Next time, we're diving into episode 13. Yes, no, or maybe making decisions with confidence.
Until then, keep leading with clarity
And living with purpose.